The 7-star Greninja raid is finally out, and now that we know his moveset and how to play against him, it's time to share that knowledge so we can farm him, because he gives a mountain of EXP candy, Carbos, money items, and poison Tera shards. In this video, in order, I'll discuss the Greninja's moveset, how to assemble a team to knock him out in 1 to 3 turns, then I'll show you several examples of real raid footage where completely different teams knock out Greninja on turns 1 through 3, and lastly, I'll show what I consider the best strategy, which is the Gallade strategy. Additionally, and this should be kind of obvious, we're not interested in solo strats today. We're interested in killing the Greninja as fast as possible over and over and over and over again. And for this, we're going to want a team. First, let's talk about what the Greninja's moveset actually is. His 4 main moves are Gunk Shot, Hydro Pump, Ice Beam, and Night Slash, which is a lot easier than the worst case that I prepared for. Having Night Slash instead of Dark Pulse makes a lot of the strategies that we couldn't really recommend before viable. Night Slash also means that there are several ways to solo Greninja, including the Slowbro that we use for Cinderace. Furthermore, Greninja has the bonus moves Double Team and Toxic Spikes, which he will use at the very start of the match. A lot of people were saying, oh man, this is so bad, but like him not starting with an attacking move makes it very, very easy to deal with. We just need to tweak our strategies just a little bit and they'll work just fine. His ability being Protean and not Battle Bond is great because Protean does not work on terrestrial Pokemon. He basically has no ability as far as the raid is concerned. And his nature is, get this, sassy. Game Freak screwed up what the red versus blue color means, like which one means up and down, and they gave Greninja the exact opposite nature of what he would want, which is hilarious. It's almost as funny as when they accidentally gave NDDF Trick Room in Tera raids because no one checked female Indeedee not getting Trick Room is a major balancing point for VGC. Point being, Game Freak made a major mistake in making Greninja sassy instead of naive or hasty, so we can super exploit that new speed tier to make all of our strategies way more consistent. Note that the new speed to beat is 252 points of speed. A lot of our offensive Pokemon are going to reach 253 points of speed, so that on the turn that they go for the attack, they do not need to take a hit from Greninja, because they'll outspeed the Greninja on that turn. Also, this Greninja is a 30 times HP variant. You need to do enough damage to KO 30 Greninjas to kill him in one shot, which is what we're going to be doing today. Furthermore, Greninja removes all buffs sometime around turn number 3. So for all of our strategies, we want to plan to kill on turn 1 or 2, because any strategies that plan to kill on turn 3 will run into inconsistency when sometimes the Greninja will go a little bit sooner and then remove your buffs, all right? As long as you plan to kill on turn 1 or 2, you are going to be good. In my previous video, I recommended a large number of different Pokemon for Greninja, and I'm a man of my word. I went out and I built every last one of them. I've made a couple of modifications, as you can see on screen. I can tell you that they all work great. You absolutely don't need all of them, but any of them will be good. Additionally, I tried out a couple of other ones, and these generally work, except for Lucario, which we'll get to later. Lucario is not really very good. Next, I'm going to discuss the Pokemon that we have to work with, especially like some of the changes that we use to exploit this new speed tier. First, Garchomp, slightly modified. First, Garchomp, we're putting just barely enough speed to outspeed Greninja, Adamant, Max Attack, and dump the rest into Special Defense to tank an Ice Beam. Everything else is the same, the ability doesn't matter. For the item slot, Life Orb Garchomp has enough firepower to not need a third Screech. It dies to Ice Beam critical hit, but if you get Ice Beam frozen, then the extra turn can be used by your allies to heal cheer you back up. Yachiberry Garchomp will survive Ice Beam crit, but if you get frozen, you're going to be really pressed for turns because you really need 3 Screeches for that Garchomp with Yachiberry. The Gallade set is now greatly improved, and Gallade is the #1 way to consistently kill Greninja on turn 2. And you need this very specific spread of EVs that hit 188 points of defense and 253 speed. If you build Gallade exactly the way I'm telling you to, with 192 attack EVs and all that, then after 2 Screeches, Helping Hand, the Swords Dance, and I'm gonna simulate the attack cheer like this, Psycho Cut does 3,015% damage to the Greninja, which is just above the minimum 3,000% damage that we need. The 253 speed means we only need to take 1 hit from Greninja, and the 88 defense EVs mean that on a critical hit Gunk Shot, which is the one move that Gallade needs to survive, on a critical hit, he will survive with exactly 1 hit point left if it's a maximum roll. Gallade only dies to poison, crit, gunk shot on turn 1, which is less than a 1% chance. Anger Point Krookodile and Tauros-Paldea work great. They both need Honchkrow as a teammate, and Honchkrow's only real issue is being frozen by Ice Beam. Besides this, for supports, we have 2 major modifications, and these are going to be our MVPs that get rid of the double team shenanigans so that we don't have issues with evasion. First is Corviknight with Defog. Defog skips accuracy check and reduces evasion, so that just gets rid of the double team. Defog is an egg move you get from Braviary, and it is a game changer for Corviknight. Additionally, every support that runs Screech will use Zoom Lens instead of Wide Lens, except for Koraidon, because they will get outsped by Greninja, and Zoom Lens give 1.2x more accuracy if you go after the target, and Greninja's pretty fast. Next, we have the single best support. You need Chansey and not Blissey to be able to survive the gunk shots, and the main game changer here is Gravity. Gravity gives everyone 67% more accuracy, and unlike a lot of the strats that people are floating around right now, a lot of people are using like Haze and Clear Smog. If you Haze or Clear Smog at the wrong time, you can get rid of the debuffs or buffs that your team has already put down if you are like slightly slow. Gravity is just more consistent because it will make sure everyone hits. If you are the Pokemon with Gravity or Defog, put this in your first move slot and mash A as the fight starts so that you can make sure that you get this in before anyone else needs it. Chansey also gets Helping Hand to go for game, Heal Pulse or Life Dew for certain strategies that require healing. But the main thing is Gravity. Gravity is an egg move that you learn from either Stonejourner or Sandy Shocks. The other slight modification is giving Muck Fling, which we'll use later. The other Pokemon that we're using are mostly unchanged from the other video, like maybe a couple of minor modifications, but nothing really big. Also, a lot of people have been using Slowbro strats. If you're in a team, your Slowbro should be taking Weakness Policy to try to kill on turn 2 or 3. If you built these Pokemon and you're struggling to make them work, one major piece of advice that will greatly improve your ability to win is to know when to do nothing. In general, you want to have 1 attacker and 3 support Pokemon. No one attacks the raid boss until the attacker is ready to one-shot it. What happens is that a lot of people panic because they think the raid boss is just going to keep throwing attacks at them at random times, and they just need to like put in attack inputs as fast as they can to actually have turns. That is not how it works. Just relax. A raid boss will only attack you under 2 circumstances: during their bonus turns, which is usually when the timer gets low or when shields go up, and for 7-star bosses, they always get a free bonus turn at the very start before anyone has a chance to move. And the second situation, whenever you issue an attack or a cheer, the raid boss will attack you. And as long as we're at the start of the match and you haven't gone AFK for 3 turns, as long as you don't press any buttons, you're gonna be fine. Knowing when to do nothing is the most valuable skill, especially for the attacker. As long as the attacker has some chill and doesn't attack until he's ready to one-shot the boss, you will be set. Oh, and attack cheer stacks with helping hand, but multiple attack cheers don't stack with each other, and multiple helping hands don't stack with each other. So don't waste turns putting 3 helping hands onto the attacker. It doesn't do anything. Without further ado, let's get into some examples. Here we have some Garchomp fights, and you'll see that Chansey is the main glue that really holds everyone together in the team. The Gravity makes all the Screeches land. While this is going on, the Garchomp is Swords Dancing, so that on turn 2, we can basically go for a 3rd Screech, because that's a Yacha Berry Garchomp, a Helping Hand, and an Attack Cheer. All of this combined allow the Garchomp to one-shot the Greninja with an Earthquake. While Garchomp can fail like 4% of the time depending on like the crit and all that, Garchomp can actually be a lot more consistent if you bring a Medicham to the team to give Garchomp pure power. Then he just needs 2 Screeches, Helping Hand, and of course the Swords Dance in order to kill. Yacha Berry Garchomp can survive the crit, Medicham gives him pure power, Chansey or Corviknight give Defog or Gravity support, so we always hit. One teammate drops Screeches, and if Garchomp gets frozen, then you have an extra additional turn to heal cheer everyone up. With pure power, Garchomp just needs 2 Screeches and a Helping Hand in order to kill the Greninja. Next we have Iron Hands. Standard Iron Hands Belly Drum into Earthquake will work. You do need the Chansey to provide both Gravity so everyone hits, and Life Dew or Heal Pulse so that the Iron Hands can survive that second turn. But with all that extra firepower, Iron Hands only really needs 2 Screeches and a Helping Hand in order to kill the Greninja. Next we have Anger Point strats with Krookodile. It's very important that the Krookodile player who has a choice band just does nothing until the team has him fully set up, just just AFK, just don't press the button and relax before you drop an Earthquake. Honchkrow's Night Slash activates Anger Point to bring him to +6 attack. Then, depending on the other 2 slots, will be if you're going for like a turn 1 or turn 2 strat. For a turn 1 strat, you want Medicham to give Krookodile pure power after the Anger Point boost, and then the last slot will be a Screecher. This will be subject to misses, and if you use Koraidon as your Screecher, then it's possible to miss on turn 1. Krookodile will survive the Hydro Pump because of the Sun, and then you'll have a second shot at it for turn 2. For the 2-turn strat, you should bring Defog Corviknight or Gravity Chansey to reduce the evasion of the Greninja. People on my stream just kept wanting to replay the Krookodile because it was... You kill Greninja so fast that people barely felt like they got the time to enjoy it. The Krookodile strat is completely consistent if you bring Defog or Gravity support. The other Anger Point strat, which also works, is Tauros-Paldea. Similar idea, but Tauros-Paldea needs the Sun from Koraidon to boost the Flare Blitz. Then we basically do the exact same thing as before, as with Krookodile. You can still one-shot the Greninja just fine with a coordinated team. Next, let's talk Bronzong. The idea with Bronzong is you use Weakness Policy, Greninja attacks you with Night Slash to activate it, then you recycle the Weakness Policy on that turn to get it back, so that the next turn you activate a second Weakness Policy as you go for Stored Power. This strategy requires your team to not use any attack drops. This will not work if you're using Chilling Water or Qwilfish Intimidate, because that will make the Greninja no longer use Night Slash on Bronzong, which will make it fall apart. Besides that, Bronzong has enough firepower to kill with 3 Fake Tears / Acid Sprays and a Helping Hand or Attack Cheer. While I didn't show this on stream, the Bronzong strat does work better if you have Defog Corviknight or Gravity Chansey, because then you don't risk any sort of stored power misses, which is the only way that the Bronzong strategy fails. You have the extra leeway to heal the Bronzong if you really need, so it's not really an issue. Next, we have the try and tested Slowbro strats, where Slowbro goes for Nasty Plot, Greninja activates his Weakness Policy with Night Slash, the teammates go for Acid Spray, followed by Acupressure or Helping Hand, Attack Cheer, etc. onto the Slowbro, so the Slowbro can Stored Power KO on turn 2. This can work. It's obviously better with Defog or Gravity support. There's some other strategies here like Slowbro with Swalot, where Swalot uses Clear Smog. Gravity Chansey also fits on this team. Like, the main common thread is Gravity Chansey works on every single team. The issue I run into with Slowbro is like sometimes Greninja is so fast that he will just remove everyone's buffs right before Slowbro gets to attack. So it'll usually work if everyone knows what they're doing, but if it doesn't work, then you're kind of stuck in a 20-turn raid trying to set up again while Greninja gets up his shields and all. It's just annoying. You'll probably eventually win, but it's going to be on a struggle. Simple Beam Golduck is also great with Slowbro, but you need to know a guy who knows a guy. Next, I have a very silly Lucario set for you. This is Justified Lucario, which gets +1 attack every time he gets hit with a Dark-type attack. And then we have several support mucks holding Lychee Berries. Lychee Berry, when you eat it, gives you +1 attack. They fling the Lychee Berries at Lucario on turn 1, and then they go for Screech. Choice Banded Lucario just waits to the last possible moment and then drops an Earthquake, which can kill a Greninja. There's some other nuances to make the strategy work, but it's kind of inconsistent because the fling animation, berry eating animation just takes a while. We tried on stream 5 different times and it only really worked once. It is a cool strategy that does work, but I definitely do not recommend Lucario. Lucario is absolute garbage for this raid. Lastly, we have Gallade. Here's footage from the first build, which does work. You basically play it the same way. You need to like heal the Gallade in order for it to function, but you'll get to the finish line. The new one is a much simpler, faster, and more consistent way to pull off the Gallade strategy. The Gallade strat needs Gallade, Chansey, and any 2 Screechers. With Gravity, the Screechers will Screech, and their Screeches will never miss. Gallade is Swords Dancing, and after the Swords Dance, he does not press Psycho Cut until he's ready to go. The next turn, Chansey Helping Hands the Gallade, and the Screechers can just Attack Cheer. There's a little extra Attack Cheer here for redundancy, and in case someone gets stuck with the cheer screen glitch. Gallade just waits for there to be 2 Screeches, 1 Helping Hand, and 1 Attack Cheer, and then he is ready to kill the Greninja. This is the strategy to use. If you're gonna farm Greninja over and over, you want to be using the Gallade strategy. I've killed Greninja with Gallade at least 50 times by now, or the last couple of days, and I even convinced one big YouTuber's Discord that they were all using the Slowbro strategy, and I got them all to use the Gallade strategy because it's just so much more consistent and easier to execute. Given how hard it is to convince people to change the strategy strategy that they're currently using, that should be a testament to just how consistent the Gallade strategy is. And here's your little infographic to make it very easy to share with your friends. Venonat needs a Violite. Berserker does not have the bulk to take the Hydro Pumps, but besides that, it's a very stupid-proof way to kill Greninja very quickly many times. And if you're looking to build a support and, you know, one server is doing Gallade and the other server is doing Slowbro or whatever, Chansey, Umbreon, and Muck. If you build any of those three, you can join basically anyone. That's all I have for you today. Part of this video is to kind of show you have a lot of flexibility. You have a lot of options of what you can go for. Please don't be a hater and just hate on what people are doing. Anyway, that's all for today, and I'll see you around. Later.